watching WAFF 48 News on your side with Liz Hurley, Margot Gray, and Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis. WAFF 48 News at 4 starts now.
Good Thursday afternoon, everyone. This is the streaming version of WAFF 48 News at 4. I'm Liz Hurley.
And I'm Margot Gray. We start our coverage in the Shoals, where we are digging deeper into the past of a man indicted on 4 counts of capital murder for a nearly decade-old double homicide.
Travis Fallows is charged with capital murder for the deaths of Gary Baskins, Kayla Glover, and Glover's unborn child. The 4th count is for killing 2 or more people.
WAFF 48's Aria Pons is live in front of the Lauderdale County Courthouse. Aria, you spoke to the Lauderdale County District Attorney, and he says he is familiar with Travis Fallows.
The Lauderdale County DA Chris Connolly actually prosecuted Fallows for 2 shootings back in 2014. Fallows is currently in jail for both of those shootings. Connolly says that in 2014, Fallows shot a man and a woman. He pleaded guilty later on to assault and was sentenced to 20 years. In between the settlement of that case and actually going to prison, Connolly says Fallows shot and badly injured Antonio Foster. Foster didn't die until more than a year later, and at first they didn't know who shot him. Eventually they tracked down Fallows and charged him with murder after Foster's death. Fallows later took a plea agreement, pleading guilty to assault. After Fallows got to prison, Connolly says he was then charged in another inmate's murder. And just yesterday, the Attorney General announced capital murder indictments for Kayla Glover and Gary Baskins' deaths.
Hope he's held accountable for the thing in Colbert County finally, because I know that case, involves serious, looked like almost a, I don't know if you call it a contract hit or what it was, but it was something that sure doesn't happen every day in our community.
Coming up at 5, I also dug into Fallows' personal history and past a bit by speaking with one of the victim's mothers. She says that Baskins and Fallows have known each other since they were about 11. Reporting live in Florence, Aria Pons, 48 on your side.
Now to a story you'll only see right here on WAFF 48. A former reserve deputy charged with sex crimes appeared in a DeKalb County courtroom for a bond hearing today.
Joshua Wells is charged with sexual abuse after investigators say he had sexual encounters with teenagers. WAFF 48 Savannah Sapp was in court today for that hearing. Savannah, what happened?
Well, as Joshua Wells appeared before Judge Stephen Whitmire today for an Aniah's Law hearing. Now, it's here where I learned through testimony that Wells is accused of having multiple sexual encounters with 2 teenage boys last summer. Now, the state called a DeKalb County investigator today who says he interviewed the 2 victims, one who was 15 years old and the other who was 16 at the time of the crime. The investigator says Wells met the boys through family and became close with them through text messages, which eventually became sexual in nature. He says at one point, Wells went as far as pulling one of the victims over while on duty just to, quote, see how they were doing. The investigator says a sexual encounter with the younger victim took place at a church camp where Wells was working security. Wells could be seen in the courtroom shaking his head at the allegations. According to the investigator, Wells admitted to becoming involved with the older victim, who is now 17 years old, but he denies any involvement with the other victim. Now, the defense claimed that the state did not prove that Wells would be considered a danger if he were to be granted bond. Judge Stephen Whitmire says that he would take all of this testimony into account, but he did not rule whether or not Wells would be granted bond. We'll keep following, of course. Reporting live in Fort Payne, Savannah Sapp, 48 on your side.
Moving now to where we're getting perspective from an attorney about what's next in a wrongful death lawsuit over the police shooting death of Steve Perkins.
Tuesday, a federal judge dismissed some of the claims that were filed against the city of Decatur, the officers involved, and the tow truck company that attempted to repossess Perkins' truck. Let's take you now to Decatur City Hall. That's where we find WAFF 48's Daquan Lee with more details. Daquan.
Margot, the attorney I spoke to, said the key to that ruling is the fact that those claims were dismissed without prejudice, meaning the plaintiff's attorney can still bring those claims back to the court if they amend some of those claims. Now, as we reported on Tuesday, a judge granted motions to dismiss the lawsuit against the city of Decatur and the 3 officers who didn't fire their guns. Attorney Bart Sinyard says those dismissals amount to a technicality. Had those claims been dismissed with prejudice, the plaintiff would have had to appeal that decision to the appellate courts with the hopes of having it reversed. Sinyard says the defense filed those motions based on the concept of qualified immunity, meaning government employees like police officers are protected from most lawsuits with certain exceptions. He says the judge is simply giving the plaintiff's attorney another chance to fix those claims that fall under those exceptions.
It's a win to an extent for the officers in the city of Decatur. By no means is it a decisive win. I mean, the lawsuit has a right to continue. It's one of the battles of a war. They may have won this battle, but the war is far from over.
Now, so far, we still have not received a statement from attorney Lee Merritt, who is representing the plaintiffs in this case. Meantime, Mac Marquette's criminal trial is slated to begin in November. Reporting live from Decatur, DeQuan Lee, 48 on your side.
All new today at 4, a man accused of stabbing someone and then running from Boaz police, now charged with attempted murder. Investigators say Donnie Nennis stabbed someone near Bourbon Street yesterday. That victim was airlifted to Marshall Medical Center South for treatment. Police say Nennis took off after that stabbing, prompting several surrounding areas to go on lockdown. He was later found hiding behind a home and then arrested. He's now being held in the Marshall County Jail on a $100,000 bond.
Well, good Thursday afternoon, everyone. We're almost to your Friday, and you know what that means. Hey, the weekend is coming very close, and many of you in for a treat for this weekend. For now, still relatively warm, but a big cold front that's going to drop our temperatures and also drop humidity levels. Let's go ahead and take a live look across Huntsville this afternoon. Current temperatures are trending slightly cooler. That's due to stubborn cloud cover that really wouldn't get out of the way. Most of us below 90 degrees, but it is still humid enough to have some feels like temperatures close to 100. We are mainly dry, but we're tracking some showers and storms mainly to our north across southern Middle Tennessee. An isolated shower or two cannot be ruled out through the rest of the evening, but the heavy rain remains across portions of the East Coast. Tropical depression Debbie will continue to bring major flood threats to the Carolinas and also the Virginias through tonight, and it will weaken as it tracks to the north. Well, it will end up into portions of Canada. We'll break down your extended forecast, also a look at your weekend coming up.
Chelsea, as you said, there is a growing flood threat from Tropical Storm Debbie after it made a second landfall over the Carolinas. This is new video in from North Carolina, where floodwaters turned streets into streams and literally swamped businesses.
Emergency responders from here in North Alabama are in the Carolinas ready to help as Debbie drenches that region. WAFF 48's Callie Neese is live in Madison, where she spoke to the fire chief. And Callie, you learned about Alabama's task force and their trip to help in aid for Debbie relief.
Yeah, Margot, Madison Fire Department traveled to Columbia, South Carolina, a city heavily affected by Tropical Storm Debbie. When local emergency crews said they needed help, Alabama Task Force 3 showed up to help. Alabama Task Force 3 is made up of a bunch of fire departments from all over the state. They go all over the country to help people out in emergency situations. Madison Fire Department specializes in entrapments. That's where they were called to help with this tropical storm. Though the 4 members of the crew never got called in South Carolina, they were ready for whatever the storm threw at them. Chief Bailey said that this was good practice for the team.
One of the great things in the last 20 or 30 years, really, that I've seen in the service is this interoperability and working together is becoming even greater, you know, both locally and regionally and you know, across states.
Coming up at 5, I spoke with one of those firefighters who was in South Carolina and is currently on his way back to North Alabama. Reporting live in Madison, Callie Neese, 48 News on your side.
A busy South Huntsville road back open now after a semi-truck hit a utility pole, knocking power out in that entire area. You can see that utility pole came down on that semi along this stretch of Memorial Parkway at English Drive. The wreck caused traffic lights in the area to go out just before lunch. Huntsville utility crews spent most of the day clearing that damage, but the roadway should be back open for the evening commute. Starting this school year, school nurses will need the approval of licensed medical professionals before they can stock medicine. The new guideline came in June after the Alabama State Department of Education made a new ruling. After the over-the-counter medication cannot be kept on hand for any students for more than 2 weeks without written authorization from a medical professional. This includes over-the-counter meds like Tylenol and Benadryl. Sheffield City Schools head nurse says this will help keep track of what a student is taking and see if there is an ongoing issue where they might need to seek medical help. On the other hand, she also says doctors' offices are about to be even busier with these requests.
And with that also comes the responsibility of the nurse to know that child well enough and to monitor how the frequency of them receiving that medication. So if a child came in and had a headache day after day after day, that would be a red flag to any nurse that something else is going on.
Schools across the state have to follow this new guideline.
Well, speaking of the new school year, Huntsville City administrators are beating the heat and racking up school supplies thanks to a local event. Leaders with the Thrive Senior Living Facility at Jones Farm teamed up for a special supply drive today. Throughout the day, organizers encourage the community to come out and donate supplies for Huntsville City school students, and in return, they got a tasty snow cone. Rachel Creech with Thrive says today was the perfect event to help the community while giving Thrive residents a chance to set local students up for success.
They're going to be our future generation, but then also our residents have grandchildren that they're able to see, the importance of growing up with the things that they need, so they just wanted to give back.
And if you missed out on today's big event, you can still donate any extra school supplies to the Thrive facility at Jones Farms. Well, the maroon and white of Alabama A&M has hit the Magic City. A&M recently debuted a new ad on the largest billboard in the state, located at Morris Avenue in Birmingham. It's part of the university's push to take the A&M brand nationwide. The campaign is already active in 10 major markets, including Detroit and Atlanta. The billboard can be seen from several highways, with thousands of travelers seeing it per month.
Madison County students got an interesting lesson today on military-grade drones. UAH and the Madison County school system teamed up for a drone demonstration for students. 3,000 students from across the district gathered at Sparkman High School for that demo. The fly-in program is designed to teach students about military-grade drones and their capabilities. Sparkman High School teachers say this is a great opportunity for students showing interest in aerospace research.
And you look at UAH and you may think, I don't know, but then once you get your hands on engineering projects and you're doing it, they see how much fun and how easy it is. And they're going, wow, I can do this. I love this. And it just opens doors that they never thought were possible.
So true. Organizers say this program is expected to expand to other area middle and elementary schools in the next few years to help inspire other students to join the aerospace and defense industry, which is right here in our front and backyards. Speaking of, one of the biggest events for the Tennessee Valley is wrapping up. Defense experts and tech leaders from across the country are here in Huntsville in the Rocket City at the VBC for this year's Space and Missile Defense Symposium. Throughout the week, experts have been collaborating and sharing the latest advances in the industry. A lot of future sailor and soldiers were sworn in during this event yesterday. You can check out more on that on WAFF.com.
Still ahead, we're on your side with a look at ways to protect your pocketbooks. Local experts will have more on a scam tactic targeting your money.
Plus, get ready to rock in the Shoals. Plans for a Hard Rock Reverb hotel in Florence are coming together. We'll have details when we come back. All new at 4, football fallout. Hoover High School's head football coach and defensive coordinator have resigned from their positions after a, quote, concerning video started circulating online. Drew Gilmer and Adam Helms resigned effective immediately. Both men were put on administrative leave earlier this week after concerning videos showed up on social media where the coaches placed hands on a student. Hoover will now be led by an interim coach, with their season opener set to be played August 24th in Miami. Also new at 4, the Dow Jones Industrial Average just posted its best day in almost 2 years. Blue chip stocks rose nearly 700 points. It's a big bounce back for Wall Street. Stocks have now recovered much of their losses from Monday's big stock sell-off.
Well, plans for a new Hard Rock Reverb hotel in Florence slowly moving forward. A private developer is hoping to turn this old Days Inn hotel into an 8-story historic-centric hotel. Florence's city council voted Monday to take the next step in this process. That would be holding public hearings about rezoning this area for that hotel to be built and approving some tax incentives for the developer. The hotel, if built, will be in Councilwoman Katrina Simmons' district. She says it will bring some much needed growth to the area.
It will bring a destination hotel that is very much needed, I think, in the city of Florence. It would be certainly a destination for the city. It would be an economic impact. It would bring additional hotel rooms that is needed. We have a lot of tourists, tourists that comes to the city.
So the next meeting will be August 20th, where public comments will be heard on this project.
Keeping a close eye on your finances, essential. And that's why experts are taking the time to teach you about avoiding common scam tactics. The Senior Fraud and Scam Summit is designed to teach the aging community all about ways to protect your finances and identity from fraudsters. During 2023, experts say elder fraud reports rose 14% nationwide. Speakers from several agencies came out to this summit, including leaders with the Better Business Bureau and Huntsville Police. And if you fall victim to a scam, Teresa Hazard with Tarcog shares the first steps you need to take.
If it sounds too good to be true, usually it is. And don't be afraid to tell somebody, because if you say nothing, then it's going to go on. They're going to get somebody else. So if it happens to you, the first thing you need to do is contact the police department, let them know, and then you can call me and we can see what we can do.
For more resources from this scam summit, check out our website, WAFF.com. We have them listed there. Organizers say this event is necessary to help share valuable resources as well as tips to protect your wallets.
Sheffield drivers, this is for you. You can give your input about a proposed railroad overpass. Now, the city is looking at 3 options here for an overpass spanning the Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks. That public meeting is actually going on right now at Sterling Boulevard Church of Christ. It goes until 6, so you can still make it out there. During this meeting, project leaders are expected to go over the cost, design, and environmental impacts.
Now, your first alert forecast with meteorologist Chelsea Aaron.
Well, good Thursday afternoon, everyone. Not much change in the weather pattern today, but big changes coming for the end of your week tomorrow and likely your weekend. And I think these are going to be pleasant changes, much welcome changes that all of you are going to like. Let's go ahead and take a live look at the Parkway. This afternoon, traffic is flowing out there quite smoothly. You shouldn't have many, if any, issues with that commute. Just make sure you still have the AC on full blast because, yes, temperatures are warm. Most of us, though, sitting below normal. We're in the mid and upper 80s, barely seeing any 90s out there other than Pulaski and Fayetteville. And why is this? Well, because a lot of the area was socked in with stubborn cloud cover. That cloud cover starting to fade away slowly but surely across the Tennessee Valley, but dew points still in the mid 70s for some of you. This will make the temperature likely feel about 5 degrees warmer, so take necessary heat precautions. We are tracking a few isolated shower and storm activity coming from southern Middle Tennessee. This could be affecting you in Madison County throughout the next few hours, but most of us staying completely dry, and winds also breezy out of the north. Expect occasional gusts upwards of 15 and 20 miles per hour, and winds will likely stay breezy as we head into your evening. Expect mostly clear skies overnight. Overnight lows will drop back into the low and mid 70s. Again, not much change heading into Friday, with high temperatures once again warming near 90 degrees. But we will be tracking a rather strong cold front that comes through late Friday afternoon, and both temperatures and humidity levels going to drop quite quickly through Friday evening and into Saturday morning. I call it an early taste of fall, but don't think for any second that this is going to be sweater weather. Still, it is going to be a much needed change in the forecast. Morning lows on Saturday could be ranging upper 50s to low 60s, but note the afternoon still going to be quite warm. Much of us going to range in the mid and upper 80s, but with those cooler evenings, hey, it is going to feel fantastic. Temperatures Sunday morning likely going to fall back in the low and mid 60s, and we will not be tracking any rainfall over the weekend because we are going to be under a more dry air influence. Tropical depression Debbie continues to bring that major flooding threat for the Carolinas, also the Virginias. It will be weakening greatly as it continues to track to the north. And again, we are going to be on the dry side of this, so no impacts here through the rest of the week as we head into your 7-day forecast. Enjoy this weekend. Make those plans now because next week we will start to heat up quite quickly with temperatures back in the 90s as early as Monday. We will stay rather rain-free, but toward the end of the week we could be tracking a more unsettled weather pattern. This would be great for the long-lasting drought conditions we're still experiencing, but don't expect much rain in the forecast likely until next Thursday. That's a look at your local weather forecast.
Thank you, Chelsea, and thank you so much for tuning in to this streaming version of WAFF 48 News at 4. For the very latest news around the valley, check out WAFF.com and be sure to download the 48 News app.
And of course, you can find us on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, and YouTube. We'll be back on air in just a few minutes for WAFF 48 News at 5, so stay tuned and have a good night.